Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, this is going to be kind of the topic of the channel. This is something that I've been using a lot in gameplay recently. When I use this indoors in a CQB environment, it is so OP, it is actually a bit unfair, and I'm thinking about maybe just not using it for a while. But this is the Acetech Volcano. It effectively fires 40mm shells, so kind of like 40mm grenades, but realistically, it is a shotgun effectively, firing 120 BBs at the same time. This thing, though, has a tracer unit inside it, which means that when it fires tracer BBs, this thing basically lights up the entire room. It is very loud, and people get very scared by it. Now, I don't want to run it underslung, and you've got like a little kind of like Picatinny rail attachment here. So if you wanted to put this underneath one of your replicas, you could do that. However, I don't want to do that, especially in CQB environments. So I've actually been running it as a secondary. So instead of running a pistol, I have basically a dangler right here with 5 different shells for that. I need to take this off. This thing does not want to... I'm going to take this off because this thing is basically trying to follow me around, even though I haven't done anything. I've got a dangler with 5 different grenade pouches right here, so I can put 5 40mm grenades in. I also then run a couple on my belt as well, and then I've got 1 in here. So I go around with 8 different shells on this thing, which is firing like 120 BBs. So it is OP, and I probably shouldn't be using it, but I love it, and I love the footage it gets on the gameplay. If you guys want to see some gameplay with it, you can go and check out the channel, or alternatively, I've got a couple of shorts like actually just showing it as well. But today I thought I'm going to play around with how I mount it. Now, how I've mounted it before is like this. And so I've taken a Safariland ELS, which is basically their, instead of their QLS, their quick locking system, this is their equipment locking system. So it's a smaller little plate that will sit, and normally this will not attach here. I've just decided to bolt it onto the side of this Acetech Volcano. And then I run, and sorry for my legs, I decided to not put any shorts on today because it is quite hot in LA. But this is one of my belts that I'll use, and I'll just demonstrate here how I make this work. I'm gonna just do that. But I use a drop leg holster. So again, I'm afraid, guys, you're gonna have to look at my legs a little bit. But I use a drop leg holster, and what I've been doing normally when I run a pistol is I will do, I'll show you because that's probably easier. I will do different attachments here. Like this is my QLS on a T-Rex arms holster, which holds my Glock 45, and that means if I want to switch between pistols, I can literally just put this in here, I can run it in, it attaches, and then if I want to use this, great. If I want to switch it to something else, all I have to do is just push here, remove that plate, I can take that out, and then put another pistol here. Now, I've also got ELS mounts on the front and the back, and what I've had these for really is for mounting pistol pouches or for mounting grenade pouches or anything extra that I just want to have here. The great thing about this Safariland drop leg is it just gives you a ton of real estate to use. So I was wondering when I first got it, I'm like, I don't really want to put a dangler on here. I did put a little quick detach spring, quick detach QD mount, a quick detach mount on the back here, so I could run it on a single point sling if I wanted to. But I really, seeing as I wasn't going to run a secondary, decided that I would rather run this, and so I wanted it in that drop leg holster position. Couldn't work out how to do it, so what I ended up doing is I got this ELS. I actually filed down the edges of this so that I didn't have to push this in, and then I put it here so that I could mount it directly on here. And so what that's doing is that is just fitting in there. This little nub that I've kind of filed down gives enough retention. Originally, when I first started using it, I'd have to push in here and then remove it and then putting it back in. It was more solid and would stay in, but this thing isn't really going anywhere. And this has worked fine, but it does look very weird on the side here. And I like kind of having it here, but I'm not sure if that is exactly where I want it. I may want to switch it onto where I normally hold my pistol, which means I can use these for other things. I have actually just been running a, what is it called? An unobtainium gear placard here with 2 grenade pouches. So my actual like grenades I've put in there, not the 40 millimeters. But that's how I've been running it for now. And you know what? I thought I really want to kind of like change this up, and I want to try and get it exactly honed to how I want it. Now, what Acetech actually do is they sell these. Now, this is meant for the Volcano, and this is a little attachment that's going to replace this, and it is going to allow me to use the Novritsch quick detach or quick release holster system. Universal holster system. So I got one of these, and basically this is made by Novritsch, the company that make a lot of sniper rifles. Original YouTuber Novritsch kind of started it. And this is something I've thought about getting because it's like their version of a QLS kind of. You can put a different attachments like this onto different of your Novritsch replicas, and then you can just slide it into this little rail system here. Now, the reason that I haven't done that before, or I've thought about doing it but haven't done it, is that the actual attachment on this mount is one of these horrible circular things. I'll open this up so we can have a look. One of those kind of like, I mean, not horrible, people love those mounts because you can adjust them, but it's one of the circular, I can't think of the name of them, but this kind of mount, which is fine. However, this is not going to allow me to mount this onto the QLS system. What I really want is to be able to like remove it and then actually switch it out. So having that not there is kind of really annoying. Sorry, another little pause there for another one of my kids. Yeah, so this system, annoyingly, because it's got this circular thing, it's not going to attach onto a QLS fork or an ELS fork. Like that won't allow me really to attach that, which means that I can't switch it out. So if I want to run my Volcano in one game and then switch it over to that Glock 45, I can't really do that. And that means that I'd have to mount this thing to a belt mount, which is not what I like. I like running it lower down below. So I've avoided doing that in the past. Now, what I actually found was that there was a version of this that I could 3D print. And this is gonna be another video. I'm gonna basically make this, I'm gonna do the 3D print, I'm gonna build it out, and then I'm gonna take the one that I've paid $27 for, and we'll compare it, and I'll put the file down there. So if you guys would rather do that, then we can look at building it and see what the comparison is in terms of quality, and then we can do the actual Volcano draws on it, etc. But to be honest, what I worked out is this is $27, and actually to build that, I need the spring from this AEP thing, and that's $27 as well. So it's actually the same price, even though I'm not 3D printing it, going through the time, the effort, etc. So I think this is gonna be better. So for this video, I was like, you know what, we're just gonna do it with this. However, what I did 3D print is a QLS fork. So this obviously isn't from Safariland because I've printed it myself, and you can tell that from the back. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but the finish on that does not look to the same standard as, you know, this guy, which is an actual one from Safariland. But this one has got one of these little wheels on it. So what I can do, hopefully, is just interface this directly onto here, and then I've basically got best of both worlds, and then I can run my Volcano on my actual kind of QLS location on my drop leg. So that's the theory. What we're going to try and do in this video is do that. So hopefully we managed to do it. It's going to sit in a great location. I'm going to be very happy. But enough talking, and let's get on with what we're actually going to do. And that will start with, sorry, already I'm getting like messed up. What I'm going to do to start with is get my tools, which I've completely forgotten. One sec. Okay, I'm back. I've got my tools. I can't believe I forgot that for the video. But I'm going to remove this little fork here. Now, this has worked really well, to be honest. I haven't minded it. I didn't mind it. The only real issue I had was like re-indexing it into the holster like little area. It's a bit awkward because it's kind of like a fat plate to be putting into that area. It's got a couple of these little arms here, and they could get caught. So what I actually ended up having to do was like properly look down onto where I was like putting it in, and there was no like muscle memory kind of putting it in place like I have with my Kydex holsters for my pistols. Obviously I could try and find a Kydex holster for that, but it would be massive, and I don't really know how that would work. So I don't think that's gonna be the case. So we'll keep hold of this just in case that's the better way to mount it once we've done all of this. Then what I am going to do is I'm gonna put the actual Volcano attachment on here. Now, I don't know how, maybe Acetech teamed up with Novritsch, but they literally advertise it as a plate which can be used on the Novritsch open, what are we calling this thing? Universal Holster system. So we'll see if this works. But I don't know if they've done like a team up deal with them or if they've just actually turned around and done it and just said, right, we're going to make it for this part. But that looks like it is designed with that little ridge in there to fit perfectly onto this location. Now, I think I can mount it higher or lower. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to mount it higher. Higher up means that I'm going to have it there. Yeah, I'm going to mount it higher. This hopefully comes with a couple of screws. Yep, it does. And I think already, like, it just looks a lot more streamlined. I'm definitely not the biggest. I kind of like to keep my kit as, like, low profile as possible. And having it, I will thread lock this for everyone watching, saying, hey, you haven't thread locked it. But just already looking at it, I think it's going to be a lot better looking for one. Uh-oh. That one's going in. This one is not. Maybe that one's longer. Now you are going to need these flat end screws. Maybe. Imagine if I've just broken it by putting it onto my ELS. Maybe I'm going to put this one over here. They look like they're the same length, so I don't see how that would be an issue, but this is just not actually biting onto the screw head or onto the nut. Maybe if I use gravity and turn it this way. Yeah, that to me is not actually attaching. So if I put it in, I mean, I can just secure it with one bolt because of that reason that, just make sure this is like brought up. I can just secure it with one bolt because of the reason that it's got this ridge to it right there. But I really don't know why that's not pulling, because that works. This little screw head in here is going in. And it is screwing in. So it's almost like it's too deep for the screw. Like there's not enough space to get it all the way in. Unless I have to have it there. And maybe I only have it in that one space because it's pushing away too far. I mean, that goes in there fine. So maybe I'll just keep it like that and we'll see. The other thing to mention is you can't do it on this side. There is a ridge there, but there's no screw holes. And I think the reason for that is because you've got that movement. So you need to have it out the way. One thing to note is you could actually reload it while it's in place, because if that is held onto there and you release this, you could just drop another one in, then close it. So that's something that I may try doing after this, and we'll just see if that works. But I can't find a way to put two screws in here. So I'm going to put this one screw in, and what I will do is I will thread lock this because it needs to be thread locked. The only other thing I'm thinking is, does it need to be the other way? Because yes, it does. That's what I'm doing wrong. Because I've just realized this little ridge here, that's going to be what goes into the actual bottom. And because it's got like the interface and then it's going to lock. So what I've actually done is put it the wrong way, and I need to put it here. Let's see if that changes anything. That's locking there, and that is locking there, which is good because that would have caused an issue. I don't think I can move it to the other position. We'll see. Okay, so that's in place. Now what I need to do is basically make sure that we can attach this to this QLS. Now I can angle it, but I actually think probably I might turn it slightly that way. That is one of the advantages here as well, is that I can actually like interface this a lot easier. And this is going on really well. So I'm hoping that we should be all good. But having something 3D printed is like, most of the stuff I 3D print is amazing and goes really well. Some of the stuff I 3D print is not quite so good. Let's see which one of these needs to come on here. That's the one. Yeah, some of the stuff I print, like it's not necessarily holding in the same way. Now, the issue I think we may have with this is that this screw isn't long enough. I know it is. Okay, so if it's that way, I might want it facing slightly further forward. Okay, for some reason this isn't locking in. And then I'm going to lose the actual screw. Okay, pause for a second while I actually find the screw. Okay, so I found the screw. The issue is definitely going to be the length. Like, that is just not long enough to go through both this and that. So what I'm going to have to try and do is find a screw that is longer but the same diameter as this. And I have got other screws here. So what we'll try and do is see if we can find something that is going to work and do this. The other thing I could do is probably just try and change out the screw if it doesn't fit. Now this is going to fit. So that's the perfect diameter. My worry is that that is going to be too fat to fit in this hole. And that is going to be an issue. And I'm right. So that's just too wide to actually go in there. I need something with like a lower diameter to it. So that one's not going to work. We could, say for instance, I went for something slightly, so that would fit. I just need to find a screw that would actually fit that. So maybe let's try and see if we can, sorry, a nut that's going to fit that. That's too big. My worry is it's not actually going to, okay, so that's the nut, I think. Yeah, so that's the nut. So that would go through there. The problem is this is going to be too small, I think, for this one. Now this one's going to be too long. Okay, so this I thought was going to be very easy and a simple one to do. This could be one of those ones where I have to go and hunt out a nut that's going to be, and now that's going to be too long because that QLS is not going to sit there. Let's just test and see. No, this nut's not going to work either. Okay, so now we're not going to use that one. Let's put it that way. What I could actually do is shave down that nut, like the edge of it, with a Dremel. Now this is stuck here, which is great. Okay, there we go. That was just rotating because the nut needs to basically fit into that space so we can tighten it down. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to rotate. So I need a nut that is that size. The other thing I can do actually is just check my, I've got like a QLS little like group of nuts and bolts that come with it. So the other option I could do is try and look at that, because I think the issue that I'm going to have is going to be width. Width, either of one of them. Like, I just need something that's going to fit this, and I don't think we have it. Let me just look at this one as well. Okay, that could work. No, same issue. Same problem, it's too wide. That's going to be too big, that's going to be too big. So yeah, so I'm going to quickly just go and see if we can find another bolt. So again, apology for all the pausing. Okay, so here's some of the actual like nuts and bolts that I've got left over from other QLS systems. Again, I don't know if any of these bolts are going to be long enough. Like, the real issue that we've had here is that the bolt length. So these are slightly longer. But no longer than this, I don't think. Yeah, maybe a slight bit longer, but I don't know if that's going to fit in there. Nope, so that's not going to work. We'll put this back in here. So yeah, there's no other longer bolts in there. I need a nut as well. These are all not going to work either. My last options are here. I should just all put all of these in one bag, really, shouldn't I? So the last options are here. This one might be longer, but isn't long enough, I don't think. No, that's going to be the same length again, so that's basically the same bolt. And then none of these are going to be the right size, and that's not either. Okay, so we've come across an issue, which I could maybe print a shim just to sit in there so that the bolt would sit right. You know what, we'll try and attach it just for now with, let me just do one more check on this thing, make sure it's not gonna fully go in there. If I like try and screw it down really tight, end up cracking the actual 3D print, which would be great, wouldn't it? Come on, just bite. No, that's not gonna happen. Okay, so the thing I could actually just do is go back to that bolt we were using, or use, what was I doing? Use one of these bolts. Is that longer? No. I'll go back to one of those bolts we were using, and then I'll try and just secure that pin in place and just see if we can do it. So I'm going to go back and get that again. Okay, so I'm back. This is getting, like, I'm bad with how dirty my desk gets, but this is, go away. I'll sort you out after. This is pretty bad even for me. Okay, so let's go back to one of these. I'm just going to go with a skinny bolt. It might not lock down fully, but it will give us an idea of just if this is going to work, so you guys feel like you've actually watched a video that was worth your time. Okay, so let's go with that guy. That's perfect. And then let's go with, what one's going to fit this? This is going to be too big. Nope, that's going to be good. You know what? I think I've just found the bolt that's going to work with it. After all of that stupid stuff going on, this actually might now just be the perfect size. And I've just been so stupid and looked around it and not found it, because this looks to me like, yeah, it's going to fit, of course. I mean, it's probably one of those things where it's like, damn, how dumb am I? And what a waste of your time and my time, but also, like, we got there in the end. So that is going to go like that. That's going to, I think this could be really good. So as you can see here, this little plate that I've attached here is going to slide directly into there. So we're going to go like that. That's just going to slide down. That's going to hold in place. It's not going to move anywhere, so it's secured. This little button here that hopefully I can push with my thumb is going to go there, and we're just going to be able to retract it from there. So we're going to see if that works. My worry slightly is, am I going to be able to stretch my hand that far across to do it? I mean, this is designed for that, so you'd presume that that is what's going to happen. Okay, so this QLS is working, like it's actually like locked in, so the actual 3D printed plate works, which is great. This is working great. So like now indexing that is so much easier than it was with that QLS. Obviously now I've just missed it twice, but that is working really well. There is for some reason something coming off here, which I think might just be the plastic. The only thing I would say is it's sticking out pretty far. Like that now is like a significant distance that is like added onto my leg. It's basically made the size of my leg twice as big. But now if I'm using this and then just trying to do that and put it back in, I can just glance down and put it in. I don't need to, oh, is this in the right way? Can I get it back in? I can actually just do that. So I think this has been a success, guys. As I said, what I'm going to be doing on the next video is actually showing you ones that I've 3D printed. So there's a load of parts in here where I'm going to lose them. No, I'm going to put these all together and basically build an equivalent of this. And then you can print as many of these as you want, which are the attachments. Let's just see actually if that attachment will fit into this. So I can also remove that very easily. So that's kind of cool. I've now basically just got that set up from that 3D print. So if nothing else, that's a great situation. And that little 3D printed piece goes in there perfectly. If I do that, I can then remove it. So whatever I can attach those screws to is going to work really well on this. This might be, I think the distance between the screws to go into here is going to be too tight to like spread into that. So that might be an issue when I do this one, but it also might, no, it's not going to get it any closer to my body because it's going to be the same. Other thing actually, which we should try, is just looking at the reload. If I insert this here, we can just do this here, and then the reload, if I want to, I can just flick it. I can go bang, change it. And you know what's good about that is it basically turns that into a one-handed thing. Because what I've had before is I've had my primary, I'm playing, and then I'll have fired that, my secondary, and then I'm basically putting my primary down while I'm actually reloading because I need two hands. I need to draw that and then need to put it in the side. What I could now do is keep my primary up and then basically have that ready to go. I can, you know, I've just used this, boom, boom, boom. I've just put this back in. I can just flick that open, pull this, put that in my dump pouch, grab another one, put it in, slap, and we're good to go again. And then I'm just going. I like how solid it is. It is wiggling around a bit, but it's solidly in place. I like how now I have this button as actually like retention, so it's not going to come off. I think if that was that far out and then was still unretained, kind of like it was originally with the ELS, that would be an issue. But the actual cost of these, I think this was $25. So this little attachment you could probably do without. You could probably just print one like this and put it on. Obviously holes dependent, you might have to go with one hole and I don't know how that would work. And this thing here is another $27. Let's just confirm that. $26.99, yeah, $27. So you're looking at $50 basically for a holster for the Volcano. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that's been helpful and you've enjoyed this video. I will be back tomorrow with another video, so I hope you're good and hopefully see you there. Goodbye.